Righty then. Successful Indie Author 5-Minute Focus, episode 1147. Words that stall your prose. I guess I still have the blurred background on from when I was in the hotel. However, Stanley is not back there. He's out there playing with his baby Yoda. He was running all over the place after his first walk and breakfast. All right. Words that stall your prose. I was reading a manuscript. It's actually called a book when you buy it or borrow it. And I saw the words started skimming something. So started skimming. Started. And then I went back through mine, and I have a tendency to use that as well. Started something. I had an editor once that said you shouldn't use that. And I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever. Or adverbs. Well, yeah, I don't agree with that guidance, but I do use adverbs because a word like coquettishly isn't something that you let sit in a dictionary unused. You throw it in once every 3-4 books as it applies. It has to be particular, but coquettishly, my goodness, why wouldn't you use such a great word? So started skimming. How about skimmed the first few pages? It still gives a non-determinate element within that, as opposed to started, okay, did they really go farther into it or not? Started running toward the objective. He ran, he left, he headed out. Various things you can use to be more descriptive than started. Sometimes started applies. And that's as I went through my own manuscript until it becomes a book. I went through that and I came up with, yes, sometimes an action starting, it helps shape the scene and feeds how other people react to that. So just use it wisely. Don't always think about, then he started running and then he started climbing the stairs and then he started going into the room. And you see how it can get overwhelming and be a nonsense word if used in the wrong place. He and she saw. This is something that I use a lot or used to. I'm take care not to go overboard with he saw, she saw. A lot of it is because we're describing it. We're watching the scene, but we're trying to project it through a character's eyes while in a third person, maybe a third person omni perspective. And we're trying to project that he saw. You don't need to say that because the scene is developing. There are occasions where it does apply because he watched for something to happen and saw it. Okay, because he was watching specifically for it, as opposed to the stagecoach was coming down the trail. He saw the stagecoach. You don't need to, you don't have to try to jump into his perspective to see that. So save yourself a few words and put in better words. Really, very, and other words like that almost have no place. I might use very once every 2 or 3 books. Really is another word that I avoid. Like the plague, I would say that, but except we've had the plague and we didn't avoid it. So we can't say we avoid it like the plague because we don't avoid anything in that regard. So really and very, try to look at why you're using them. Is it simply how you're thinking? And then now you're writing stream of consciousness as opposed to, excuse me, literal prose that somebody will read this year, next year, 10 years, 20 years from now. So writing like that, it may have a certain flow, but will it also stilt the flow 5 years from now? Think about how those words fit in when there's other words you can use, like none of that. Instead of very big, use large, use immense, use massive. Massive, I use too much probably. Adverbs, once again, I know Stephen King said, don't use adverbs or use them judiciously. What a great word. Use adverbs judiciously. Sometimes you need them. Fantasy authors, you are guilty of this. Unpronounceable creations. Zixaboatl. Okay, because you just put zix in your manuscript, and then you did find and replace and put in the whole character's name. And now it's unpronounceable on 700 pages. I know how you people write epic fantasy in your massive tomes. And now you're gaining like 6 words with 1 word using a find and replace. How about you just put zix? Because that's all the readers are going to read after that first time of looking at it and saying, I'm not reading that. I'm just going to call it Zix. So after that, just call them Zix. Guess what? The readers know who you're talking about. So you can put it in there one time in the full. And I relate all of my writing back to the genius storyteller D.C. Fontana. Call me Spock. Well, what's your real name? You couldn't pronounce it. There we go. Simple enough. Call me Zix because you couldn't pronounce my real name. Oh, those crazy elves and orcs. Now, what do you do with your manuscript? Make it readable. It's all about readability. And when you shift a perspective, like you move into he saw, she saw, you say started something, which is kind of how you're thinking and not how the readers are reading and internalizing the story. They don't need to head hop and jump and say, oh, now I'm looking at it from this character's perspective, but I'm not head hopping because you didn't just jump and change perspective. So keep in mind the reader. How does the reader internalize this information? How does the reader embrace and see those scenes that you're using words to paint? So started doesn't help, really and very don't help. He saw, she saw, and Zixabla. Let's all avoid that. Avoid that a little bit, and then read it, deliver it how the reader reads it. That will help you smooth your prose and keep those readers reading, which is all. That's what it's all about. If you give a reader a reason to stop reading, they might not ever come back to your manuscript, your book. Sorry, once it's published, it's a book. Hey, how about that? Because there is an immense amount of books out there. There's a very large quantity of books out there on their TBR, and I guarantee their Kindle or their app on their phone is completely packed with books that they haven't read. And if you give them a reason to stop reading yours, they're going to jump to somebody else's and never come back. So don't give them a reason to stop reading. Peace, fellow humans.